You've spent decades building a life you're proud of. Maybe you raised kids, ran a business, climbed mountains, literally or figuratively. You've survived heartbreaks, career setbacks, maybe even health scares. Through it all, your heart has never stopped. Not once. It beats for you while you sleep, while you laugh with grandchildren, while you sip your morning coffee and watch the sun rise over the horizon. That steady rhythm? That's love. That's life. That's your second chance to get things right. But here's something many of us forget as we grow older. The same foods that once fueled our youth could now be quietly working against us. And some of the healthy vegetables you eat every day, yes, vegetables, might be doing more harm than good if you're over 60, especially if you're on medication or managing heart conditions. As a cardiologist who has spent years walking alongside seniors through their most vulnerable moments, I've seen this story unfold far too often. A patient comes in believing they're doing everything right, eating greens, avoiding sugar, skipping fried food. They feel healthy, strong, even proud of themselves. But underneath the surface, something is quietly sabotaging their progress. And it isn't junk food. It's spinach, or pickles, or raw garlic. These aren't villains. In fact, they're celebrated as superfoods in many circles. But for seniors, especially those taking heart medications, dealing with high blood pressure, or facing a weakened immune system, these everyday foods can turn into silent threats. Let me share a real-life example that changed how I talk to my patients forever. A few years ago, I treated a sweet woman named Carol, a retired school teacher in her early 70s. She came to me with chest pain and shortness of breath, not after eating a greasy burger or drinking alcohol, but after a lunch she believed was perfectly healthy, a large spinach salad with olive oil dressing, topped with red chili flakes, fresh garlic, and a side of pickled cucumbers. Carol had no idea that each ingredient on her plate carried a hidden risk. The spinach clashed with her blood thinner medication. The pickles spiked her blood pressure. The chili peppers sent her heart racing. And the garlic? It thinned her blood to dangerous levels. She left the hospital with a new understanding and a warning I now give to every senior who walks through my door. Not all food is created equal for every body at every age. Some vegetables, though healthy for younger people, can silently sabotage your heart's health without you ever realizing it. This article isn't about fear. It's about awareness. It's about giving your heart the attention it deserves, not just when you feel sick, but when you still feel strong. Because the truth is, aging doesn't have to mean decline. With the right choices, your heart can heal, recover, and keep beating for years to come. So today, I'm going to walk you through 5 common vegetables that may be harming your heart without you knowing. Each one will surprise you. Each one carries a unique risk. And yes, each one can be replaced with safer, tastier, heart-friendly alternatives. We'll also explore what you should be eating instead, nutrient-rich foods that support your heart, work well with your medications, and bring joy back to your meals. Because let's face it, food is more than fuel. For many of us, it's culture, it's memory, it's comfort, and it's time we start treating it like medicine, because when you're over 60, it truly is. So take a deep breath, grab a cup of tea, or better yet, a glass of water, and let's begin this journey together. Not just to protect your heart, but to reclaim your energy, your vitality, and your peace of mind. Leafy Green Chapter 2. Spinach, the superfood that could be silently sabotaging your blood thinner. You've probably heard it all your life, spinach is good for you. Popeye the Sailor Man built his entire identity around chugging cans of spinach and flexing his biceps. It's been praised as a powerhouse of iron, vitamins, and antioxidants. And yes, for many people, especially younger ones, spinach truly is a superfood. But what if I told you that for someone over 60, especially someone taking blood thinners like warfarin or Coumadin, this leafy green could be silently undoing the very medication that protects your life? Let me tell you about Carol. Carol was a sweet woman in her early 70s when she came into my clinic one morning. She had a kind face, silver hair, and eyes that still sparkled with curiosity. She was a retired school teacher, used to being in control, used to doing everything right. She walked 5 days a week, read labels carefully, and took her medications on time every day. One day, after months of feeling fine, she suddenly developed chest pain and shortness of breath. Her daughter brought her in, worried something was wrong. After running tests, we discovered a small but dangerous blood clot near her lung. Now, here's the kicker. Carol hadn't eaten fried food in years. She wasn't drinking alcohol. She hadn't skipped her medication. So how did this happen? We looked at her diet. She had recently started adding spinach smoothies to her routine. I read somewhere that greens are great for heart health, she told me, confused. I thought I was doing something good, and she was, just not for her body, not with her medication. Magnifying glass tilted left. Why spinach can be dangerous for seniors on blood thinners. The villain here isn't spinach itself, it's vitamin K. Spinach contains high levels of vitamin K, which plays a critical role in blood clotting. For most people, that's a good thing. But for those on anticoagulant therapy, blood thinners, too much vitamin K can be dangerous. Here's how it works. Warfarin and similar drugs work by reducing the activity of vitamin K in your body. When you eat large amounts of spinach or other vitamin K-rich foods like kale or collard greens, you're essentially fighting against your medication. Over time, this can make your blood too thick again, increasing your risk of blood clots, strokes, or even heart attacks. The problem? Most seniors don't realize this interaction exists. They think they're making a healthy choice, when in reality, they may be unknowingly putting themselves at risk. Syringe is silent threat. The worst part about this interaction is that it doesn't announce itself with red flags. There's no sudden pain, no warning sign, no immediate reaction like an allergic response. It sneaks up on you. Your INR level, a measure of how well your blood thins, starts to drop without explanation. You feel fine, but your protection is slipping away. And then, one day, you might wake up with a pounding headache, blurred vision, or weakness on one side of your body. Or worse, you collapse. This isn't rare. I've seen patients come in after years of eating spinach salads daily, thinking they were helping their heart. Some didn't even know their medications interacted with food. Others assumed a little bit of spinach wouldn't hurt. But it does, especially when it's inconsistent. Warning: the real danger: inconsistent vitamin K intake. Here's the key point most people miss. It's not just about avoiding spinach altogether, it's about consistency. If you eat a lot of spinach one day and none the next, your blood levels of vitamin K fluctuate wildly. That makes it nearly impossible for your doctor to manage your medication properly. Think of it like driving with a gas pedal that randomly sticks or loosens. One moment, you're coasting smoothly. The next, you're lurching forward uncontrollably. That's what happens inside your bloodstream when your vitamin K intake jumps from day to day. So what should you do? Why'd have you checkmark what seniors should do instead? Talk to your doctor before changing your diet. If you're on blood thinners, any major dietary change, even something as simple as adding more greens, needs to be discussed with your physician or pharmacist. They can help you understand how much vitamin K is safe for you based on your weight, age, and current dosage. Eat spinach consistently, but moderately. If you love spinach and want to keep it in your diet, that's okay. Just eat it the same amount every day. For example, if you have half a cup of cooked spinach 5 days a week, stick with that. Don't go from zero to a full salad overnight. Track your vitamin K intake. Ask your doctor or nutritionist for a list of common foods that contain vitamin K. Keep a food diary for a few weeks to see how much you're consuming regularly. This helps your doctor adjust your medication accordingly. Cucumber Chapter 3: Pickled cucumbers, the salty trap that's choking your heart. It's not just a snack, it's a slow squeeze on your arteries. You open the fridge. It's late afternoon. You're not quite hungry, but you're not full either. A sandwich sounds good, maybe some turkey, whole grain bread, and a few slices of something tangy to bring it all together. You reach for the jar of pickled cucumbers, the ones you've kept around for years. They're crisp, they're zesty, and they remind you of summers at the county fair. You pile a few slices onto your plate without thinking twice. After all, they're just pickles. What harm could they do? A lot more than you think. If you're over 60, and especially if you have high blood pressure, heart disease, or are recovering from a cardiac event, pickled cucumbers may be silently tightening their grip around your heart, one salty bite at a time. Let me tell you about Jack. Jack was in his mid-70s when he came into my clinic. He was tall, thin, and always dressed like he had places to go. He was proud of how well he'd aged, still drove himself everywhere, still played chess at the community center every Thursday. He told me he ate healthy, exercised regularly, and took his medications religiously. His blood pressure was stable, until it wasn't. One morning, he woke up dizzy, nauseous, and with a pounding headache. His daughter rushed him to the hospital, where tests revealed his blood pressure had spiked dangerously high overnight. But why? He hadn't changed his medication. He hadn't eaten anything unusual, at least, that's what he thought. We dug into his diet. Turns out, Jack had been eating 2 to 3 large pickles every day, sometimes more. They're low-calorie, he told me. I figured they were good for me. And technically, they were. But what Jack didn't realize was that each pickle was packed with enough salt to make his arteries scream. Microscope the science behind the salt. Pickled cucumbers, like most preserved foods, are soaked in brine, which is essentially water, vinegar, and a shocking amount of sodium. Let's put that into perspective. One medium-sized dill pickle can contain over 1,000 milligrams of sodium. The American Heart Association recommends no more than 1,500 milligrams of sodium per day for adults with high blood pressure. That means just one pickle can give you nearly 2/3 of your daily salt limit. Now imagine eating 2 or 3 a day. Here's what happens inside your body when you consume too much salt. Your kidneys struggle to filter it out. As we age, kidney function naturally declines. This makes it harder for your body to remove excess sodium efficiently. Sodium holds onto water in your bloodstream. Think of sodium like a sponge. It soaks up water and expands the volume of blood flowing through your veins. This extra fluid increases pressure on your arteries. Just like turning up the faucet on a garden hose, more volume equals more pressure. Over time, this pressure damages your arteries. Arterial walls become stiff and less flexible, increasing your risk of hypertension, heart attack, stroke, and even heart failure. The worst part? Most seniors don't even realize they're consuming this much salt. They believe pickles are harmless because they're low in calories and fat-free. But salt isn't just flavor, it's a chemical that affects your entire cardiovascular system. Warning: the silent killer, high blood pressure. Salt doesn't just raise your blood pressure temporarily. It builds up over time, quietly wearing down your heart and blood vessels. This is what doctors call the silent killer, because you often don't know you have high blood pressure until something goes wrong. And by then, it might already be too late. I've seen patients come in after years of eating pickles, canned soups, and processed meats, never suspecting these foods were slowly poisoning their heart health. They thought they were making smart choices. In reality, they were unknowingly feeding their hypertension. High blood pressure doesn't announce itself with pain or red flags. You won't feel your arteries hardening. You won't sense the strain building in your chest. Until one day, you wake up with a splitting headache, or your vision blurs, or you feel short of breath climbing stairs. Or worse, you collapse. That's when the damage becomes real. Chapter 4. Red chili peppers, the fire inside that's wearing down your arteries. There's something deeply satisfying about a little heat in your food. Maybe it's the way your mouth tingles after a bite of spicy chili, or how your nose waters slightly when you taste a curry laced with cayenne. For many seniors, especially those who grew up with bold flavors in their kitchens, Mexican salsas, Indian curries, Thai stir-fries, or Southern hot sauces, spicy food isn't just a taste. It's a memory, a comfort, a connection to home. But what if I told you that the very thing giving you joy could also be quietly accelerating damage to your heart? Let me tell you about John. John was in his late 60s when he came into my clinic one afternoon, clutching his chest and gasping for breath. He had no history of heart attacks, but he'd been diagnosed with hypertension a few years earlier. His doctor had warned him about salt, cholesterol, and stress, but not about spice. That day, John had eaten a large bowl of homemade chicken chili, packed with red chili peppers, jalapenos, and a dash of ghost pepper powder for extra kick. Within an hour, he felt his heart pounding. His vision blurred. His arms went numb. He thought he was having a heart attack, and he almost was. After running tests, we found that his blood pressure had spiked dangerously high. His heart rate was over 130 beats per minute, far above normal. And while there was no blockage in his arteries, the stress on his cardiovascular system was clear. The culprit? Capsaicin, the active compound in chili peppers that gives them their heat, had triggered a chain reaction in his body that sent his heart into overdrive. And John wasn't alone. I've seen this pattern repeat itself too many times to ignore. Seniors come in believing that spice is harmless because it doesn't add fat, sugar, or calories. But what they don't realize is that capsaicin stimulates the sympathetic nervous system, the same one responsible for your fight or flight response. In simpler terms, it tells your body it's under threat. Your heart races. Your blood vessels constrict. Your blood pressure surges. And for someone over 60, especially with pre-existing heart conditions, that's a dangerous combination. Test tube the science behind the heat. Capsaicin is the natural chemical compound found in all chili peppers, from mild bell peppers to fiery habaneros. It binds to pain receptors in your mouth and skin, creating a burning sensation. But here's the twist. Your body doesn't just feel that burn in your tongue. It reacts to it everywhere. When capsaicin hits your system, it triggers a release of adrenaline, the hormone responsible for the fight or flight response. This causes increased heart rate, constricted blood vessels, elevated blood pressure, faster breathing, higher alertness. For younger people with healthy hearts, this surge usually passes quickly. But for older adults, especially those with stiffening arteries, high blood pressure, or weakened heart muscles, it can be overwhelming. Think of your arteries like garden hoses. When they're young and flexible, they expand easily as more water flows through. But as they age and harden, any sudden increase in pressure can cause them to burst. That's exactly what happens in the body during repeated exposure to high levels of capsaicin. Over time, frequent consumption of hot peppers can lead to chronic inflammation in blood vessels, persistent spikes in blood pressure, increased risk of arrhythmias, irregular heartbeats, greater likelihood of heart-related emergencies after meals. Warning: real-life warning signs. I remember treating another patient named Maria, a lovely woman in her early 70s who loved Mexican food. She made her own salsa every week, always adding fresh red chili peppers for flavor. She believed she was being healthy: no fried chips, no sour cream, just fresh vegetables and spices. But over the past year, she'd started experiencing episodes of dizziness, shortness of breath, and even occasional chest pain after eating. Her primary care doctor checked her cholesterol, ran an EKG, and said everything looked fine. Still, Maria knew something wasn't right. During our conversation, I asked her about her diet. When she mentioned her weekly salsa habit, I did some quick research on the types of peppers she used. Turns out, she was using habanero and serrano peppers, two of the hottest varieties available. 1 tablespoon of finely chopped habanero contains over 100,000 Scoville heat units, SHU, compared to a jalapeno's 2,500 to 8,000 SHU. That kind of heat doesn't just make your mouth tingle, it makes your heart race. We advised her to switch to milder peppers like poblano or Anaheim, and within weeks, her symptoms improved dramatically. No medication changes, no invasive procedures, just a simple shift in spice level. Chapter 5: Raw Garlic. When nature's medicine turns against you. Garlic isn't just a flavor, it's a force. For centuries, garlic has been hailed as nature's antibiotic, a heart protector, even a longevity booster. Ancient Egyptians used it for strength. Roman soldiers took it for endurance. And today, many seniors take it daily, raw, crushed, or in supplement form as a natural remedy for high blood pressure and heart disease. But here's something most people don't realize. Garlic is powerful medicine. And like all powerful medicines, it can cause harm if not used wisely, especially after age 60. Let me tell you about Linda. Linda was in her early 70s when she came into my clinic with bruises up and down her arms. She hadn't fallen. She hadn't bumped into anything. But still, her skin looked like she'd been in a fight. She also had nosebleeds that wouldn't stop and felt dizzy every time she stood up. Her daughter brought her in, worried something serious was wrong. After running tests, we found her blood was dangerously thin. Her clotting factors were off the charts. One small injury could lead to internal bleeding. So what caused this? Not a medication error, not a rare disease, just 1 clove of raw garlic, eaten every morning on an empty stomach. Linda believed she was doing the right thing. After all, she'd read online that garlic was good for the heart. It thins the blood. It lowers cholesterol. It fights infection. What she didn't know was that too much raw garlic can make your blood too thin, especially if you're already on heart medications like warfarin, aspirin, or Plavix. And once again, there were no warning signs until there was. Chapter 6: Raw Sprouts. The fresh crunch that could trigger a deadly infection. Fresh doesn't always mean safe. Sometimes, the most innocent-looking food can carry the deadliest threat. There's something deeply satisfying about raw sprouts. They're crisp, they're fresh, they're green, and they look like the very picture of health piled onto sandwiches, sprinkled over salads, or tossed into wraps for that extra crunch. But what if I told you that those delicate little shoots could be hiding something far more dangerous than you ever imagined? Not fat, not sugar, not even salt. Something invisible to the eye. Something your body may no longer have the strength to fight. Bacteria. And not just any bacteria. E. coli, Salmonella, and Listeria monocytogenes. 3 of the most dangerous foodborne pathogens known to medicine. Let me tell you about Grace. Grace was 72 when she came into my clinic with a fever, chills, and uncontrollable shaking. She had severe abdominal pain, nausea, and was barely able to stand on her own. Her daughter brought her in after she collapsed in the bathroom. At first glance, we thought it might be a urinary tract infection or even a heart-related issue. But as we ran tests, a different story began to unfold. Grace had contracted listeriosis, a serious infection caused by Listeria monocytogenes, a bacteria commonly found in contaminated raw sprouts. She had eaten a sandwich from a local deli 2 days earlier. It had turkey, avocado, and a generous handful of fresh alfalfa sprouts. She believed she was making a healthy choice. Instead, she nearly lost her life. Final thoughts. Your heart still has time. Your heart has been beating for you since the day you were born. Over 2 billion times by the time you reach 60. It has never stopped. Not once. It has powered your dreams, endured your losses, and kept going through joy and sorrow alike. But now, it's asking for something in return. It's asking for your attention. As we've seen throughout this article, not all vegetables are created equal, especially when it comes to heart health after 60. Some foods that once nourished you in your youth may now be silently working against you. Spinach can undo life-saving medications. Pickles can quietly raise your blood pressure. Chili peppers can push your heart into overdrive. Raw garlic can thin your blood to dangerous levels. And raw sprouts? They might be carrying invisible threats your body is no longer strong enough to fight. If this article helped you understand how to protect your heart in a new way, please share it with someone you care about. Whether it's a loved one, a neighbor, or a friend who's also navigating life after 60, your heart isn't the only one that deserves a second chance. Together, we can help more seniors live longer, stronger, and healthier lives, one thoughtful meal at a time.